Hello, and let's talk about the US primaries. The result of the US Democratic Party's marathon primaries have affected the chances of presidential hopeful and frontrunner Bernie Sanders. The marathon inner party election process held in 14 state wings of the party called Super Tuesday has come out in favor of Obama era Vice President and a favorite of the Democratic establishment, Joe Biden. Sanders won 3 states so far and is playing catch up with Biden in terms of vote shares in Texas. His performance in California and Texas, the 2 states that contribute 415 and 228 delegates to the DNC respectively, has cushioned the drubbing he got in the results. Elizabeth Warren, another candidate inclined to progressive politics, seems to have dented Sanders' performance in at least 4 states, including her home state of Massachusetts, where Biden won a surprise victory. We have Prashant from People's Dispatch with us to discuss what are the takeaways, Prashant, from the latest.
Yeah, so I would sort of give it a slightly different sheen. I think that, first of all, we really don't know the results until in a couple of days because all the Democratic primaries, they function on the basis of proportional representation. So although each state has a number of specific delegates, or pledged delegates as they are called, we don't know the actual breakup until all the results are out.
Okay.
So when we say X has won a state, what it means is that they've got the majority, the vote share in that state, majority vote share in that state. That does not necessarily mean that they've got all the delegates.
Right.
So where in the states where the vote share is, the margins are much lesser, it means that basically there's a good chance that the difference in the number of delegates may be 5, maybe 7. So it may not amount to much, although so Biden may have won 9 or 10 states. But whether he manages to establish a huge lead in terms of delegates, the final picture remains to be seen.
All right. So
that's one thing.
Right.
So the second part is that I think this is very clearly made, made very clear that it's basically now between 2 key candidates. There is Biden, who is representing the Democratic establishment, like you pointed out, and who is the support of all the key the former Democratic administration, Barack Obama supposedly behind the scenes, making phone calls for the support of Biden. There are congressmen, there are party chiefs, all these people in large numbers supporting Biden. Not all of them, but in large numbers. And we have Sanders, who is basically running what is called an insurgent campaign, where you have young voters, you have people who have formerly not shown too much interest in politics, you have many sections who have borne the brunt of the economic crisis over the past 10 to 15 years. And many of these sections coming out, if you look at, say, Sanders donors, the number of small donors is very, very high as opposed to all the other candidates. So you have an insurgent campaign which is running. Sanders himself is a self-avowed democratic socialist. So which is very different, of course, in the US from what we understand as socialism in the rest of the world. But nonetheless, compared to the political scene, they're much more to the left of the spectrum. So these 2 candidates are right now the major players, and there's no doubt that all the others have either given up or fallen back. Right. So now the key question will be that in the coming weeks, what challenges do each of these candidates face
and
to
Biden
take it forward?
in particular?
Exactly. So like I said, Biden's advantage, of course, is that he has the Clinton and Obama machines backing him, so to speak. So I think there was some reports on how even in states where he hadn't campaigned much, or where there was no Biden campaign per se on the ground, because the party establishment itself was supporting him, that has considerably helped him. And on the other hand, we have, say, Sanders, who sort of had to build this whole thing from zero, so to speak. Of course, there was his campaign in 2016, but even now he's still building up, so he has a lot of challenges in that.
All right.
So the key question there fundamentally for Biden is that how sustainable a candidate is he?
And there's also the demographic question. Right. So what happens there now in the South?
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting because on the one hand you have, say, sections of the population who have traditionally voted Democrat. That is the black population, sections of the Hispanic population, who are voting considerably for Biden. And there are many reasons for that, of course. He's a more known face. There's, of course, the legacy of Obama, which many sections are, they truly even believe in now, despite the fact that Obama was a very contentious president, to say the least. And there's a slight suspicion of maybe Sanders and socialism, the kind of campaign that is going on against Sanders. So that's definitely an issue. But the key thing for the Democratic Party is that Biden is a very brittle candidate. for lack of a better word. So when you say brittle, you mean that he's one step away from disaster.
Okay.
And that is a huge problem for the Democrats. And that is also, it also indicates that he might probably be destroyed by Trump in a debate or
Okay.
that during the campaign.
Okay.
Because Trump is a no-holds-barred kind of person. So, and Biden's record is very dodgy. So he's lied. He's been insanely hypocritical over a variety of issues. He's claimed progressive causes which he has not supported in the past, but he now says that he was, in the forefront of desegregation, in the forefront of civil rights. He's claimed all that,
Yes.
and he was not there anywhere.
Right.
So all these lies are key questions which are going to be exposed and which are going to affect his campaign. And Biden has a propensity to make gaffes, as they say, make mistakes which rebound on him much later. So both at a policy level, historically, at a policy level in terms of having the most centrist status quo-ish policy, and at a personal level in terms of campaign, Biden is a very brittle and weak candidate. So while the Democratic establishment may be coalescing around him now, the key question is that, like I said, how far is he away from disaster?
What about Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, so that's another interesting question because Warren herself probably has to now sit back and take a call because we saw how Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who were the people call them moderate candidates, but we understand them as center-right candidates.
Right.
Right. So these center-right candidates, sort of centrist or center-right candidates, withdrew, went in favor of Biden, and that definitely, I would say, did have some kind of an impact on Super Tuesday. If they were there in the fray, there was a very good chance that it would have been a far more fractured this thing. Sanders would have probably won many more states. Now, Warren is, she's not leftist, obviously. She's a progressive. Some of her measures, she also has some contentious history, but some of her measures are also nonetheless very progressive. So, and there is a good chance that if she does withdraw, it might help the progressive wing consolidate around Sanders. And that is a call she has to take because, but is she willing to do that? It's still uncertain because the numbers show that she has no sign of making it to the DNC convention, the one you mentioned, where finally the candidate is chosen.
Right.
But her game is basically that she thinks that the party is going to be so split that even at the convention, when she goes there as a viable candidate, people will finally choose her.
Okay.
So that's her calculation. So there is a possibility that she continues despite the fact that she has very, very few delegates, in which case it might continue to affect the Sanders camp quite badly. So that's actually a big challenge for them.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that, Prashant. So let us watch a brief discussion on the US elections from Breakthrough News.
But Trump said this and Trump said that. It's like, that doesn't matter. You can't run against someone by saying Trump is so much worse. And what people don't get is Trump being overtly bigoted and saying very offensive things and saying very distasteful things does not disqualify him. And he is able to call out hypocrisy in other candidates. And it works because he is in many ways like a Teflon candidate, a Teflon guy, because Biden claims to be the moral, upright citizen candidate. Bloomberg does too. That's hypocritical. Trump runs as a guy who cheats the system and wins. That's how he runs. So when he, as he said, he could shoot someone, what was it, Madison Fifth Avenue.
Right.
And it's true. And people need to get it. Like, if you claim to be someone who takes Trump seriously as an existential, unprecedented threat, then you need to look at how and why he won. You can't just think that because at your dinner parties everyone hates him and thinks the walls are closing in on him and the next thing is going to expose his Russia this, Russia that. You have to understand that that's your dinner cocktail party circuit, and then there's the rest of the country, and that what works in your sphere is not what's happening in the rest of the country.
There's more worrying news from India and from the world on the breakout of COVID-19. The Health Minister of India, Harsh Vardhan, has confirmed 28 cases of the virus. The just reported cases include 14 out of a group of 21 Italian tourists who are in India and an Indian national. Italy has 335 new cases, 11 more have died. South Korea is adding to the deluge of new cases for the world with 435 of the total 624 cases reported so far. In the United States, 22 new cases have been reported and 5 more have died. Worldwide, there are now just over 93,500 infections and there have been 3,200 deaths. Just over 51,000 have recovered, but more than 6,000 are serious or in critical condition. In India, the government has said that it is stepping up its effort to tackle the outbreak. All incoming international flights will be screened. A high-level meeting is scheduled to be held at 3 p.m. today. 27,000 people are under community surveillance. This is what the Indian government has said. And people who live within a 3-kilometer radius of each detected infection would be screened. Now we move to Madhya Pradesh with a fresh development. There are horse trading charges flying about in the state. The Congress leader Digvijay Singh has accused the BJP of luring its MLAs to its side. The Chief Minister Kamal Nath has said that he's ready for a floor test. 6 Congress MLAs, 2 BSP MLAs and an independent had apparently been checked into a hotel in the NCR. Some of them have since been moved to other locations. That's what's being reported. One of the Congress leaders has said that his options are open. At the same time, 2 ministers from the Madhya Pradesh government are reported to be in Delhi since Tuesday night, and they're trying to save their government along with the former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister of the BJP, Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Now we have Pranjal from NewsClick here with us to discuss the significance of this latest development. Pranjal, the important thing is not just the horse trading, but Madhya Pradesh is a site for a large number of anti-CAA protests, and it is the Congress which is in power over there. Is this one of the reasons why, and could these protests become actually at risk if the government changes overnight?
See, Pragya, the first and the foremost question that should be asked that when Delhi was burning close to a week back, you have more than 45 deaths in Delhi. A lot of relief operations are going on. The law and order situation in Delhi comes directly under the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Home Minister. Right. When all these things are happening, there are allegations against BJP that they're involved in horse trading in Madhya Pradesh. If it's true, and as we know from history of the BJP, what we have seen in Goa, Karnataka, we have other examples also. Right. This is really worrying, and it's a terrible news in a way, because the BJP and the central government, which should right now be focused primarily on one, handling the situation in Delhi, and second, with the new upsurge of the coronavirus that we are witnessing in India, the machinery of the Bharatiya Janata Party seems to be involved in what they call the Operation Lotus. Yes. What they called in Karnataka, it seems to be the repeat of that. Definitely, Madhya Pradesh is one of the important states where the anti-CAA agitation has been going on. I remember Iqbal Maidan in Bhopal, where since last 1 month people are sitting and protesting against the CAA and RC NPR. Although the Madhya Pradesh government has not taken any action against these protests, right. And that could be a worrying thing for BJP, because as far as we know, in Delhi, where the law and order comes under Mr. Amit Shah, there was a protest site in Khureji which was removed. There was a protest site in Zafrabad which was cleared off. Such other places, there has been a police crackdown. Maybe the BJP is not able to do that, and that could be one of the reasons. Right. But as the BJP leadership has said since last 6 years, that we know that they're aiming for a Congress Mukt Bharat. Yes. And this could be one of the strategy also to make sure that, because MP is an important state.
Now, why is Madhya Pradesh becoming the first state? Is it also because it was a very tightly contested election over there, and now the BJP perhaps feels that it can divert attention from things like the economic crisis by taking us to
another trajectory. Basically, yes. One is that if you look at the GDP numbers, have again declined. Economy is in a real mess. When it comes to Madhya Pradesh, you're absolutely right that Madhya Pradesh has been a closely contested elections. So was Rajasthan. But in Rajasthan, the support of independents was strongly behind the Ashok Gehlot government. In Madhya Pradesh, the number of independents is less. Okay. Right. So it's easier to make sure that they switch the sides than Rajasthan. MP is also a bigger state. When you see the number of assembly seats are there and the number of Lok Sabha seats are there. One is that. Right. It's just like Rajasthan that way. And also, if you have to look, MP has a strong presence of natural resources that way. You have good coal mines there, you have other kinds of mines, you have forest areas, and the BJP government, if you look at their history, be it Jharkhand, be it in the previous MP government, be it Karnataka, also the main aim of the BJP government has been to privatize or corporatize all these issues, all these resources. Is MP government a hurdle for them? We don't know. But that could also be one of the things that they would want a control over those things if the Kamalnath government remains, it won't be there. The interesting development also is IT raids on the Chhattisgarh chief minister that has been going on, which is a neighboring state. So that all kinds of pressures are being created. You have close to 70 people associated with the chief minister of Chhattisgarh being raided by the income tax and the ED continuously.
Right. That's right.
So that's also been happening, which actually the mainstream media is not picking up. So this all is happening while Delhi burns.
That's right.
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 So yes, I mean, that's why I think MP is also very important, and Rajya Sabha elections are due in MP.
Okay.
That's also one thing that we need to keep in mind. Yes.
Okay, so slowly the BJP is finding basically that it needs to win or capture some state assemblies in order to consolidate itself.
Obviously,
because it has been losing.
They still don't have a clear majority in Rajya Sabha.
That's right.
And that's where most of their bills in the last tenure were stuck. In this tenure, they have been able to push through it through help of different regional parties. But then we also need to look at it in the broader picture that what's been happening. They've lost Maharashtra, even though they were the biggest party. In Haryana, though they have formed the government, but they are no more they don't have the clear majority.
Right.
Right? They have lost Jharkhand. Bihar elections are due. Right. Now suppose, I mean, these three states they have lost, Delhi they have lost. They also need presence in Rajya Sabha to consolidate their agenda that they have had.
Right.
So if that doesn't happen, how are they going to do it? So that's also a challenge that the BJP is primarily facing.
All right,
Right.
Pranjal, thanks.
And the most important part, that when there's so much discontent against BJP on the ground, CAA, NRC, NPR, and I'm sure once things progress, economic issues will also come in the forefront, which people are not really talking about.
That's right.
Right now. Who is actually going to create pressure on the BJP government? Right. If there are a lot of government which are not states which are not BJP ruled, the pressure might be bigger. So in order to make sure that opposition is completely weakened and there's no opposition to them left, these kind of strategies we might see in future as well.
All right, Pranjal, thanks for that update. And that's all we have in today's episode of Let's Talk. Catch us live Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. Thank you for watching.